The coffee is cold, the Slack pings are relentless, and it is exactly 2:14 a.m. You are staring at a spreadsheet, not because you need to, but because you literally cannot stop. This is what a successful business feels like when it becomes a cage. You built a rocket ship, but you forgot to build the cockpit. And now you are manual steering through an asteroid field at warp speed. Every notification feels like a physical punch. Every quick question from your team is a brick added to a backpack you are already struggling to carry. You are the founder, the visionary, the leader, so why does it feel like you are just a glorified switchboard operator waiting for the next crisis to plug into? How do you actually stop being the bottleneck in your own dream before the pressure finally breaks the machine? There is a specific kind of silence that happens when a business starts to outrun its founder. I call it the growth gap. It is that invisible line where the speed of your company's expansion officially outpaces your own human cognitive bandwidth. You see, when you started, being the answer person was your superpower. You knew every moving part, every client's middle name, and exactly how the filing system worked. But now that same helpfulness has mutated into a sophisticated form of self-sabotage. By being available for every tiny decision, you haven't just become a great boss. You've accidentally become a micromanager who has trained your team to stop thinking. I remember working with a client who hit this wall hard. Her revenue was doubling every 6 months, which looked amazing on paper, but her life was a disaster. She was the smartest person in the room, yet she was spent. She realized that by answering every "where is this file?" or "should we use blue or teal?" she was stealing the agency from her staff. She was the bottleneck. If she didn't weigh in, the gears stopped turning. This is why you can successfully navigate a high-stakes board meeting at 9 in the morning, but by 6 in the evening, you are staring at a takeout menu in total paralysis because you cannot decide between tacos or Thai food. Your brain has a finite amount of decision juice every day, and you are wasting it on things that don't move the needle. The chemistry of this is real. Decision fatigue isn't just a buzzword, it is a biological depletion. Every time you process a Slack notification, your brain performs a micro switch. Those small pings create a death by 1,000 cuts. It's the "hey, got a sec?" that ruins your deep work. It's the quick check on this that pulls you out of visionary mode and drops you back into the weeds. You think you're being supportive, but you're actually creating a culture of permission. When your team has to ask for permission for everything, they never learn to take ownership. Eventually, you hit the moment where working harder becomes a mathematical impossibility. There are only 24 hours in a day. And if your business requires 25 hours of your personal oversight to function, the math will eventually fail. You can't out-hustle a broken system. You can't drink enough caffeine to compensate for a lack of structure. The realization usually hits like a ton of bricks. If you died tomorrow, your business would collapse within 48 hours. Not because your team isn't talented, but because you never gave them the keys to the car. You've built a world where you are the sun. And if you stop shining, everything goes dark. That isn't leadership, that's a hostage situation where you are both the guard and the prisoner. We have to change the math. To understand why you're stuck, we have to look at the hardware. Your brain isn't a hard drive with infinite space. It's more like a muscle that hits failure after too many reps. It just stops working. Research into high-risk environments like a surgical suite shows us something scary. When surgeons face a massive mental workload, their operative judgment doesn't just dip, it craters. They start making safe choices instead of right ones. As a CEO, you're doing the same thing. By 3 p.m., you aren't leading, you're just surviving. You start saying yes to things you should say no to, just to make the noise in the conversation stop. Then there's the modern trap of more. We have all these AI tools and data dashboards that were supposed to save us time, but the science of AI anxiety tells a different story. Having more data actually makes deciding harder, not easier. It's called choice paralysis. You spend 40 minutes prompting a chatbot to write an email that you could have dictated in 2. You're using high-level cognitive energy on low-level tasks because the technology makes every single option feel equally weighted and important. This leads to what I call junk decisions. These are the 3 types of cognitive trash that drain your battery before you've even had your first lunch. First, there's the repeaters. To fix this, we need a reset. We need a system that treats your brain like the high-performance, finite resource it actually is. This is the CEO-only framework. It starts with a radical filter. Most founders think they must be involved in everything to ensure quality. That's a lie. You actually only need to be involved in the things that only you can do. If a task doesn't require your vision, signature, or authority, it shouldn't be on your desk. Period. By refusing to touch anything that falls outside these parameters, you create a vacuum that your team is forced to fill. This isn't just about saving time. It is about protecting the cognitive space required for high-level leadership.
Step 1 is the $10,000 per hour rule.
Look at your calendar for the last week. Mark every task with a dollar value based on what it would cost to hire someone else to do it. Answering customer service emails, that's $20 an hour. Tweaking a social media graphic, maybe $50. Now look for the $10,000 tasks. These are things like high-level partnerships, long-term strategy, or closing a major deal. If your day is filled with $20 tasks, you aren't a CEO. You're an overpaid assistant.
Audit your time ruthlessly.
If it isn't a $10,000 move, you delegate it or you delete it. No more hiding in the busy work. When my client finally committed to this framework, the first week was actually quite painful. She described it as a phantom limb sensation. She kept reaching for her phone to check Slack, waiting for the crisis that would prove she was still necessary. When the pings didn't come, she didn't feel relieved, she felt irrelevant. This is the hidden trap of the answer person identity. We tie our self-worth to our utility. If we aren't solving a problem, we feel like we aren't working. But she stayed the course. She forced herself to sit with the silence. By the third week, something incredible happened. Her team stopped asking, "What should I do?" and started saying, "Here is what I did." Because she had removed herself as the bottleneck, the speed of the company actually increased. Decisions that used to take 3 days now took 3 minutes. The revenue continued to climb, but for the first time, her stress levels started to drop.
She had successfully transitioned from being the engine of the car to being the navigator.
This newfound speed allowed the business to finally breathe and expand naturally.
This shift requires a total redefinition of what success looks like.
Most entrepreneurs measure their day by the number of tasks they checked off. But in the new normal, success is measured by the amount of white space on your calendar. That white space isn't empty time, it is thinking time. It is the room your brain needs to spot the next big opportunity or the next hidden threat. You cannot see the horizon if you are constantly staring at your feet. The shift from doer to architect is the hardest part of the journey. As a doer, you get immediate dopamine hits every time you solve a problem. As an architect, your work is invisible. You are designing systems, setting culture, and looking 6 months ahead. It feels like you aren't doing anything because you aren't sweating. But this is where the real growth happens. High-performance resilience isn't about how much you can endure. It is about how much you can empower. When you trust your structure, you stop being a prisoner of your own creation. The transformation eventually spilled over into her personal life. She told me that for the first time in years, she could actually hear what her husband was saying at dinner. She wasn't just physically present, she was mentally there. The decision fatigue had been a fog that followed her home, making her irritable and exhausted. Once she stopped wasting her cognitive energy on teal versus blue, she had plenty left for the people who actually mattered. She moved from a state of reactive, putting out fires, to a proactive state of building the engine. She wasn't just surviving her success anymore, she was finally leading it. Your business needs your vision much more than it needs your permission. Every time you make a decision for someone else, you are making them smaller. It is time to stop being the bottleneck in your own dream. My challenge to you is simple. Pick one thing today that you will never decide on again. Give it away entirely. Trust your people. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of leadership. Let's build something that lasts. You deserve a life that is bigger than your spreadsheets. Start today.